The NBA is back at Betsafe. I'm John Arnette. I'll be with you throughout the season, providing tips and previews, so we do hope you check back regularly. Should be fun, coming off the craziest offseason in recent memory. Lots of unexpected player movement. 3 new super teams formed in Houston, Oklahoma City, and Boston. Everybody, of course, trying to chase the Golden State Warriors, and it's impossible to talk about this NBA season without starting with the Warriors. They've won 2 titles in the past 3 years, coming off a historic 3-year run through the regular season, and they should be better than ever now they've had a full year to incorporate Kevin Durant into what they do. Can anybody beat this Warriors team? You know what? Looking at the preseason odds, the answer seems to be no. At least that's what the odds makers believe, because Golden State, to win the NBA title right now, 155 at Betsafe. That's right around minus 180 American odds. That is incredibly short. Now, sitting here in October, if you ask me, can anybody beat the Warriors 4 times in a 7-game series, because that's what it's going to take, I would say probably not. But there's just so much that can happen between now and June, or May or June. Injuries, general craziness, too much that can happen for me to feel good about backing the Warriors at a price like 155. But they are the prohibitive favorites, so when you talk about backing any other team, it becomes dicey. You almost feel like you're throwing money away. That being said, looking at the market, there's one team that stands out to me as potentially a good value. A lot of new pieces, never know how it's going to come together, but it could come together like it did for the Boston Celtics back in 2008. I'm talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder, currently 19.0, 18-1 to win the title at Betsafe. Thunder with a couple of major acquisitions in the offseason in Paul George and Carmelo Anthony. Those guys joined Russell Westbrook, last season's MVP, to give the Thunder a legit big 3. And look, with Westbrook, Anthony, and George, the sky's the limit for this team. Obviously, all those guys, all NBA level players, they all have the ability to average 30 points a game, so offensive potential, not an issue. And you know what? There's a lot of defensive potential on this team as well. Paul George, a great two-way player. I mean, he's a great defensive player when he's locked in, and he'll join Andre Roberson on the wing. Roberson, not much of an offensive player, but has long been one of the NBA's best perimeter defenders. And between Westbrook, Roberson, and Paul George, the Thunder, with a lot of length on that wing, they're going to create a lot of problems for opposing offenses. And then, of course, you have Steven Adams, one of the best defensive centers in the NBA. Really, the only weak link in terms of defensively in this Thunder starting 5 is Carmelo Anthony. And what Carmelo doesn't give you on the defensive end, he more than makes up for with his offensive versatility. As I said, you never know how it's going to come together. A lot of big egos here. These guys are going to have to put some of the individual goals aside for the betterment of the team, much like the Boston Celtics did a decade ago when Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, and Kevin Garnett came together. But it could happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen. What I am saying is at 18-1, I think it might be worth a bet. There are some concerns here, depth being the primary concern. Shooting is a little bit of concern, outside shooting, outside of the big 3. But again, you say outside of the big 3, I mean, that's 3 pieces of a 5-man starting lineup, and all 3 of those guys can shoot it from the outside. So look, there's championship potential on this Oklahoma City roster. It's up to Billy Donovan to put it all together. I'm going to take a shot at them. I'm going to back them at 18-1. You know, I always enjoy these season-long win total bets. You pick out 2 or 3 teams, bet a couple $100s on them, and you have some teams you can follow throughout the season. Betsafe, of course, offering season win total numbers for every team in the NBA. And I've picked out 3 that I like the looks of. Would like to go through them now quickly. Why don't we start out west? Let's start with the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets, 40-42 last season. Improvement is expected this year. Their win total at Betsafe currently 45.5. But you know what? I think that optimism is justified. They brought in Paul Millsap in the offseason, long one of the most underrated players in the NBA. Millsap now joins what is a deadly starting 5, at least we're talking about on the offensive end. The Nuggets last year, remember, averaged 111.7 points per game. That was 3rd in the NBA. And I don't see them taking a step backwards this year. Of course, they are led by Nikola Jokic, their center, a rising star. Jokic can do it all. He can score with his back to the basket, he can score facing the basket, and he's a great passer. The Nuggets run a lot of their offense through him. They surround him with shooters, guys like Wilson Chandler, Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, a great young guard, and now Millsap. This Nuggets team is going to be nearly impossible to stop. The concern for them is going to be on the defensive end. They just didn't play any defense last year. Now, Millsap should help in that regard. He is a great defender, but that's only one piece to a 5-man starting lineup. And look, this Nuggets team is not going to be great on defense, but any step in the right direction might be good enough for a big leap in the standings, because this Nuggets team is going to be able to score with anybody, and I think they're going to be able to outscore the opposition most nights. Barring injury, I think they should be a playoff team, and I like them to go over 45.5 wins. Moving on now to the Eastern Conference, let's talk about the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks, 42-40 last year. They made the playoffs in the East. A lot is expected out of them this season. 47.5, their win total number at Betsafe. They're returning their starting five. They have an up-and-coming star in Giannis Antetokounmpo. But there are a couple of aspects to this Milwaukee team that concern me a little bit. You look at their formula for success over the past couple of years. An aggressive defense, it forces a lot of turnovers. They get up and down the floor. But their defense did take a step back last season, possibly opposing teams figuring them out a little bit. And if their defense continues to slide, I'm just not sure they have the offensive firepower to offset that. Jabari Parker's still out. He won't return to the team until maybe January or February. Antetokounmpo, a good player on both ends, no doubt about it. But the Bucks really over-reliant on guys like Chris Middleton and Malcolm Brogdon to provide offense, and they just have no depth. This team will be as reliant on their starting five as any team in the NBA. Just feels like a lot has to go right for this Milwaukee team to get to 48 wins. I expect them to make the playoffs in the East again. Of course, the East will be weak once again, but I don't think they're going to get to 48. I like the Bucks under 47.5 wins. Let's talk about one of the NBA's sad sack franchises, the Orlando Magic. The Magic haven't been relevant since the Dwight Howard days. 29-53 last year. They were awful. 33.5 their win total number this season, so most expect them to be really bad once again. And look, while I certainly don't expect this Magic team to contend for any titles, I think 33.5 might be kind of low for them. This team is going to win some games. They return all their significant pieces from last year's team, and while they don't have any superstars, they do have a lot of solid players just entering the prime years of their career. Guys like Elfrid Payton, Aaron Gordon, Evan Fournier, Terrence Ross, Nikola Vucevic. These guys have played a lot of basketball together, and there's something to be said for continuity, especially in the Eastern Conference, which is filled with so many bad teams. The Magic are well coached by Frank Vogel. Really all they need is somebody to step up and become a consistent 20-point per game scorer, a legitimate threat on the offensive end. And there are a lot of guys, there are a lot of legitimate candidates for that. Guys like Fournier, Ross, Vucevic. We see guys at this point in their career make that jump. And the Magic do need somebody to make that jump. But like I said, they might get it. And they're playing in the Eastern Conference. 33.5 to me just feels low. I don't expect the Magic to be contenders, but I do expect them to win at least 34 games. So I'm going to bet the over here. There you have it, folks. Those are a few of my thoughts on this upcoming NBA season. As I said, we'll be with you throughout the year providing tips and previews here at Betsafe, so we do hope you check back regularly. Until then, for Betsafe, I'm John Arnette.